morning, sister.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm Mark.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, sister.
Good morning. Good morning.
Do you want to, let's see if we can put it in the
And if you have to do anything with it, just move it while we're doing it. Okay?
That's enough, sister.
A little more.
A little more.
That's fine.
Okay.
They're going to bring you a little water to drink. Okay.
Okay.
They'll be here in a minute with that.
Okay.
Ready to roll?
Oh, you better believe it.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Good Friday gets better. We're joined now by Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt, and I'll ask the first question. Sister, what do you think of this turnout?
I can't believe it. Even in the morning, I wake up and I say, is this real or is it a dream? And I say, no, it's really for real. And it's very real for me to see you, but not so many at a time. But I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
We'll take questions for Sister. Again, we're going to ask that everybody please raise their hand, and we'll go through each question as we can, one at a time, for the next 15 minutes. First question for Sister. Let's go back to the right there.
Good morning, sister. Thank you for being here. What advice would you give to the Michigan players?
Pardon?
What advice would you give to the Michigan players?
Every day or every DM? I'm giving what advice I give today. I can't tell you who I'm going to tell to watch because I'm afraid you're going to tell Michigan what we're going to do, and I don't want that to happen. We're going to pray to God, ask God to help us, and we're going to tell God that we'll be there too to do our part.
Continuing with questions for Sister, to the front on the right, and just name your, say your name and media outlet first.
Sean Brown, Christian Broadcasting Network of Southern Florida. Good morning, Sister Jane. How are you?
I'm great.
I know that you pray a lot. You pray not just for your team, but you also cover the other team. How essential has prayer been for, obviously, your program, and why do you think it's so important to pray for their opponents?
Well, I like to pray for both teams so that, especially the fans who might hear me, know that I'm partly on one side, but only partly. Because at the end of the prayer, I always ask God to be sure that the scoreboard indicates that the Ramblers have the big W. And then sometimes the fans from the opponents say, we noticed that you gave Loyola a little more attention than you gave us. And I said, well, if you wore maroon and gold, you would too. So I have a working relationship with the opponents too. A lot of opponents have already taken my picture, so I thought, well, I wonder where their heart is. But I always pray too that nobody gets injured, because nobody likes to lose a member regardless of what part of the season it is.
Sister, we'll take a question from the middle of the room. Eddie? Eddie, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi there.
I'm Eddie Ells from AP. There's obviously a lot of praying going on about a lot of things this weekend. What would you say is the key for the average person to get their prayer heard?
Well, it all depends on how hard you work for it too. And we have a little slogan that we say, worship, work, and win. And so you need to do all those things. And if God always hears, but maybe he thinks it's better for us to do the L instead of the W. And we have to accept that.
Sister, we're going to take two on the right, one here, and then one there.
Sister Jane, Katie Johnston with KWCH in Wichita. Did you ever imagine that you would sit here today in front of all these cameras talking to people all across the world for the NCAA tournament?
I never even imagined 2 or 3, let alone this large group. And everything just seemed to mushroom. And I could never tell you how that happens. It's just like when students visit universities before they're admitted and when they're in high school. I always tell them that something magical happens. You don't know what it is, but you know you belong there. And so as I got nervous when all this was happening, I said to myself, well, I tell other people, you know, it's magical. And so just go and do it. And it's a big thrill for me to be here this morning with all of you. And you know what? I'm not a bit nervous.
I'm a bit nervous. On the right side.
Sister Jean Ryan Baker from the CBS Chicago WBBM. How are you? I'm not sure if you're aware, one of our reporters drove from Chicago with a big cardboard cutout of you. Are you aware of that story, doing that? And just the reaction they're getting people all over the country about them, not just here at the Final Four. And I get amazed by how you've just taken off across the country. Everybody around the country knows who you are.
Well, I'm amazed at what the different channels and radio stations and all the reporters from the papers and so forth do. And when they say, oh yeah, I came in from New York to do this, like 3 or 4 photographers, and I think to myself, who am I? Don't let it go to your head. I haven't done that, nor has the team. The team, those young men are very humble. They keep saying how confident they are, and I say, oh, I'm really glad to hear that. I'm probably more nervous at a game, though, than you are. And when they made the Sweet 16, the first thing Clayton said as he gave me a nice sweaty hug, he said, Sister Jean, we broke your bracket. And I said, go ahead and break it a little bit more. Thank you.
Sorry, sister. Back to the room in the center, Jerry.
Hi, Sister Jean. Jerry Palm from CBS Sports. Other than all of the media attention, how is this different than 1963 Loyola experience?
Oh, well, of course, we didn't have all these fancy things of, digital media and all the things that seem to make it easy. The fact that you can put me in a place like this when I'm not even there. It looks as though I'm visiting when you have a camera in the main camera in New York or whatever city, and then you have me sitting in the Gentile Center at Loyola, and you have somebody else in another place. It looks as though we're all together. I get amazed. I'm not in communications, but I just have to tell you something aside, if I can do that. A student came to me about 2 years ago and said, I have to do a paper for communications. Sister Jean, could I interview you and learn about the changes that have been made in communications in your life? And I said to her, how long do you think this will take? She said, about 15 minutes. I said, in 96 years, that's how old I was there, could I talk that much in 15 minutes? I said, we better have at least an hour. But, because they think everything moves quickly. But no, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I just think everything is so wonderful now. And I try to keep up with many things, but I'm a little behind in a few.
Sister, we're going to move over to the left side over here.
Sister Jean, Casey Jones, Blue TV with Autogram Masters. Happy Good Friday to you. You seem to be well adored throughout the entire country, except for perhaps in one city, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Have you seen Galen Rose's grandmother's message to you and the billboards that have been put up around town that they're going to teach you the difference between heaven and hell?
I saw her on Facebook the other day, and I also heard that she said she's out to get me. So we'll see. Somebody said, maybe you need a pair of boxing gloves, and I said, well, we'll see what happens. We'll probably see each other. I hope we see each other. I hope we meet there. But I love to meet people.
On the right side in the green.
Sister Jean, have you had a chance to tour the city yet, have fun, party?
I'll be too busy at halftime. But I just love being around the people who are watching the game. And somebody always says to me, oh, do you go to the locker room at halftime and give them advice? I say, no way. I said, that's the time for the coach to speak his language and their language together.
Just on the right side in the gray suit thing.
Good morning, Sister.
Good morning.
It's good to see you. Mike Berwin from NBC in Chicago. Your face is now everywhere. It's on socks. It's on T-shirts.
How cool is that? Do you have a bobblehead? How cool is that to see your face on all these items?
Well, I sort of got used to that when some years ago our dance team did a face, but it was a sketch on their shirts. And then we have those cardboard faces, you know, you see those all over. And I see more pictures of even people I don't even know or not Ramblers. So I see them and I think to myself, well, maybe I'll get a pair of socks myself and wear them. But it's overwhelming to me. And my bobblehead, and I'm not saying this in a proud fashion, but the first bobblehead we gave away at a game against Milwaukee. And then this one is updated with different Rambler clothes. And I think the company could retire when they're finished making my bobbleheads.
Another question on the right.
Speaking of the 1963 team, with this particular Final Four and the resurgence of Loyola, in terms of your faith, have you given any significance to the resurgence, the rebirth of Easter weekend and Loyola this specific week?
I see a similarity between the two teams in that they're humble, they're unselfish, they don't care who makes the points as long as the ball goes into the basket. And you'll notice that if you watch those 3 games that we played. And that's the way they are all the time. They've gelled together beautifully. They like each other. They like Porter. They like the fans. We have so many more fans than we ever had before, so they're buoyed up with all that. And of course, with the 63 team, it was different, and we didn't go to the 63. I mean, I didn't go, but I watched it on the little 11-inch black and white TV, and the game was delayed, and because we didn't have cell phones or tweet or anything like that, nobody told us that we had won, so we were watching the game as though it were live for us. And then everybody got out the house and walked down the line on Sheridan Road, young men and women together. So we didn't get as much publicity, but another thing with the 63 team is Porter brings them back to talk to this team, and they're impressed with them.
On the floor.
Hi, Sister Jean. Mike, I'm with WOAI News here in San Antonio. Welcome to town.
Thank you.
During basketball games, we often see players praying or talking to their Heavenly Father. My question to you is, do you think God is a basketball fan?
He probably is. And he's probably a basketball fan, more of the NCAA than the NBA. I'll wager that your viewer audience is very large this time, and that if you compare it to the NBA when they're playing, it'll be different. And I say that because these young people are playing with their hearts and not for any financial assistance.
Allison.
Sister Jean, I'm curious, Allison Williams with ESPN. How are you balancing this being a religious holiday with your basketball obligations, your Good Friday, Easter, and then all the events?
It's a real challenge, but we're going to the Good Friday service this afternoon because we have that nice break. We're having a university mass together on Easter Sunday. You know, I said Easter Sunday because we hope to stay, and we were confident enough we will. And one of our Jesuits is coming down to say the mass for us. And it's hard though. We have to keep our minds in a quiet attitude as well. And I think we make that space, and that's what we do at Loyola. We think about what we're doing, we focus on what we do, and that's part of the team's success.
On the right side.
Sister Jean, Luke Ellis, Fox 32 Chicago, and a proud Loyola alum. Thank you for everything. You've led a beautiful 98-year life. Have you ever had more fun than you're having right now?
Oh, this is the most fun I've had in my life. It is. It's just so much fun for me to be here. And I almost didn't get here, but I fought hard enough to do that because I wanted to be with the guys. Mhm.
At this time, I'd like to thank Sister Jean for spending 15 minutes with us here on Good Friday and in the middle of her very busy tournament run.
I could stay for an hour. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Sister.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and listening. Oh, thank you.
Sister. Everybody, please stay down for some photos.
Yeah. Not with a bottle in my hand, though.
I can't believe we let Sister Jean up on the dais with a bottle and not a cup. Who's on cup duty in this room here?
Thank you. You want me to wave or something? to change the attitude, just wave to all of you. You're great people, and don't let anybody put you down at any time.
They got you fooled, Sister.
That's all right.
All right, Sister, ready?
Okay.
Sister, can we take a selfie with all the media behind us before?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we may have to.
I should have counted all I've had since I've had here.
I know, it's a lot, but this room is impressive.
I know, it's just absolutely marvelous. Come to Chicago.
If we can do something. Yeah, let's see if we can get Sister around. I'll get one of this sister that I'll share with the NCAA with all the press behind her.
Which way do you want?
I think either back toward the crowd, and I'll get the sister with all the press behind her.
We gotta move that chair down. Move that chair.
I can move the chair.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, sister, look this way quick. Great. Thank you. I thought you were pretty good too.
It was fun.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.